Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for staying till the end of the conference to be here with me. It's a great honor. Has everyone had a good time? Good. I'm really glad to hear that. Can we just quickly do a round of applause for the organizing team? I think they've done absolutely superbly. Don't you agree? It takes a lot to run a conference, so I think they've done a really, really ace job. So we're talking about how to be an engaged seller. I'd quickly like to get an idea of what people are hoping to get out of this next kind of 50 minutes, 45 minutes together. So would a few people be brave enough to kind of shout out some of the things, some of the problems that you're facing, some of the needs that you have when it comes to sales and how you're hoping to get people more engaged in sales? So shout it out. Don't be shy. Otherwise, I might have to come and just volunteer people, and that wouldn't be very nice. Anyone? So everyone here doesn't have any problems with... Come on, shout some things out, people. If you don't ask, you don't get in life. I'm curious what people are hoping to learn from this session, what challenges they have, why you have come to this session, what you're hoping to get out of these next 45 minutes together. Yeah, that will be a factor. Some of you are here because I have coerced you and I've scribbled the time of my session on your badge and stuck you with stickers and used many other nefarious techniques, which I will discuss and reveal to you later on. Any other reasons why people here are you all just here because I've basically engaged you? To sell more. You want to sell more, right? Sell better, but what do you mean by better? Because there's been a few different sessions on sales over the last 2 days. Why does this session particularly pique your interest?
We want to create long-lasting bonds.
All right, so long-term relationship with customers. Don't worry, you don't need to read this, I just need to. So, what else? All right, so learn what customers want. That's very good. What else? Yeah, right. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Stand out. And how do we think that being engaging would help you stand out? Care more than who? Than your competitors. That's very good. What else? Okay, so if we talk about how to build long-term relationships, if we turn about how you build a better rapport with your customers from an email conversation, a phone conversation, through to long-term relationship, that would be good. People would like that, yes? Learning how to listen. Okay, and if we look at how engagement can help you stand out, people will like that too? Yes? Great. Okay, so we've covered a few ground rules. You are very... Is it just because this is the end of the conference and everyone's flagging a little bit? Shall I put some music on to wake everybody up? All right, so let's first of all think about what it is that you are selling. As charter professionals, charter agencies, as boat makers, let's say, as people that are supplying the product, what is it that you're selling to your customers? Bang on, right, fantastic, yeah, perfect, an experience. There's a model I'd like to introduce you to, actually, that just helps clarify this. And it's by Pine and Gilmore. It's called The Progression of Economic Value. And they talk about how there are five fundamental things that people pay money for. These are the five only things they say that people actually will pay money for. The first is a commodity, which you extract from the ground. Coal, iron ore, gold, etc. We customize those to make goods. People buy goods, right? This chair is a good, my laptop is a good, our clothing are goods. We customize goods to deliver services. What is a service? A service is when a good is delivered in a unique and personalized way. So commodity of coffee, the product of coffee, but now the service of somebody making you a coffee. And of course, we can then go, services, boomed during the 70s and 80s, but services have now become somewhat commonplace. The next thing that people are now offering are experiences, where we customize and deliver a service in such a unique and engaging and memorable way that it is actually about the experience and the time that somebody spends in it. Services are about time well saved. Experiences are about time well spent. Good service is that was convenient, that helped me. That is a service sensibility, that things are convenient. But you are not selling convenience, you are selling an experience. People are coming to you because they want to have time well spent with their families, with the weather, with the boat. And then finally we have transformations, which is when the person becomes the product and they are buying a change in themselves, and that would be the domain of life coaches and management consultants. But it's very important to clarify that what we're selling is experiences, because the way that you sell these different things these different things lead to different ways that they are sold. If we think about coffee once again, coffee as a commodity is very, very cheap. Coffee as a good is, let's say, €1 in the shops. As a service, maybe it's €2 in a standard cafe. As an experience, it's €5 at Starbucks. And then as a transformation, somebody teaching you how to be a barista was even more expensive again. So of course, the greater the experience, the more that we can charge a premium for it, but we do sell it differently. The thing about commodities is they are driven by market forces that push the price down. Goods generally end up tending to become competed upon their price once again. Services are really about convenience, and we've talked about that. But an experience is not something that you sell at mass volume. It is not volume. It is by definition scarce because it is created for you. It is unique. And so we must understand that when we are selling an item like this, what we are selling is an experience. And the way that you get people to buy experiences and have experiences is to engage them deeply in them. So we're going to look at that form of engagement. Is everybody good and on the same page here? Is this useful? Yeah? All right, because just check it. Right, so let's look at the process. This is the process of engagement. This is kind of like foundational, but this will be very good. This is from my book, The Shape of Engagement, which is available on Amazon if you would like it. And there are videos on my website that explain it. This is the circle of engagement. All engagement begins, first of all, by somebody scattering an idea to your mind. So scattering is about communicating. You can't engage anybody without communicating. So we need to look at what is it to be an engaging communicator in an outbound way in the first place. That's important, right? This would be your marketing materials. These booths are examples of us communicating, people scattering their message. And I call it scattering because it is a lot like sowing seeds, a farmer sowing seeds. How many of you can identify with this, that when you put out something, you never quite know who's going to respond or how many will respond? It's true, right? In the same way, when a farmer sows their seed, they don't always know for sure which seed will grow and which seed won't. It's actually really frustrating because sometimes there is a lead that you have, let's say, that you are certain is going to work out. And then did you find that one didn't work out? They were giving you all the right signals and then didn't happen. And then have you ever had those times where somebody happened to find you in some weird way and then approached you? And said, would you? So for instance, even me being here is because Mattia heard me speak 2 years ago at a conference, and I've never heard from her. I didn't even know she existed, sorry. And then 2 years, 2 years later after speaking at this event, I get this email out of nowhere, right? You never know when you scatter a seed where it might go. And of course, what the best branding does is help make your message very spreadable, right? It's easy to spread, it's easy to pass on. We'll look a little bit about that, and there's a thing called the Persuasion Equation that we'll touch on in a minute that will be very important for making powerful messages. But of course, that's not the end. You sow a seed, you actually want that seed to grow into some kind of harvest. And that's the gathering phase. If you are a farmer and you've sown seed, you have to go and actually gather up the harvest. And this is when somebody responds to you. And it can be a range of things, but often this takes the form of events or meaningful experiences. This conference they scattered the message about it, and now we have gathered in a very powerful way around it. And the symbol for this really is about the body. We'll talk a little bit about some of the neurochemistry about this in a moment, but it's very important that you do try to engage people physically. We'll talk more about this and the way that you can do it. Finally, the process of engagement is that you matter. If you harvest a bunch of wheat, it will just rot and go off, and it's of no use to anyone unless you turn it into a product like bread, or even better, beer. Or even better again, whiskey. And so the process is that we must create something that matters to people, and it fills their psychological needs, not just their physical needs. This is really, really important, is that the things that engage us the most at this level of mattering, literally, they do matter to us in a physical way and in a psychological way. We can't underestimate the importance of making a psychological connection with people. For instance, many of you here will have either an iPhone or a Samsung phone. And the parts of each phone are actually pretty much the same. In fact, Samsung make the screens for the iPhone. The ecosystems, the suite of services that they both provide are pretty much identical. For Apple Pay, you have Spotify. You have Google Android Pay. Excuse me. For iOS, you've got Android, right? They're pretty much matched. There's not one thing that one can do that much better than the other. The difference lies in who you identify yourself with as a customer to one degree or another. Some people, they are major fans. Other people, they're not, but it's kind of who they are as a buyer. And so we have to understand the psychological and the physical way that we matter. And of course, for all of you, you are providing immense psychological value. And I wonder whether you realize that or not, so we're going to look at some of that. So this is the process. And the final thing that we're offering here economically is basically a platform. And we'll discuss some of that shortly. So let's jump back to messaging. How can we be, in the first place, engaging with what we say? Has anyone heard of the Persuasion Equation before? You are very lucky. You today get to hear about the Persuasion Equation. This was handed down to me by my father, as it was handed to him by his father and his father before. That was a joke. It was handed down to me by a friend, but he's not my father. The idea here is that if you, in your messaging, the point of, so let's rewind. Engagement begins with what we say, what we communicate. We can't get beyond that. Nobody will know about you unless you say something. Nobody will become a friend with you unless you say something. Nobody will be a team member unless they see an ad. Nobody will buy a product unless they see a lead to click, right? So you have to start off by saying something. The more memorable what you say, the more it will stick, the more likely they are to do something about it, right? So this is the Persuasion Equation. I mean, quite simply, you can read it. There are 5 things that your message must have. The first is it must address a problem. And it should be that the problem is the first thing that hits their eyes. This is actually sometimes counterintuitive. Often when people go into sales, they don't actually begin time describing what the problem is that brought somebody here, what the itch is that they're standing in front of you. Because that's the point. If they're in front of you, they have an itch. What we often do is we end up talking about ourselves. Well, our product this, our company that. I've been around the booths, and there was one person, they just spent a long time telling me everything about their company, not realizing that I am not a buyer at all. And it was only at the end that I was able to describe I'm not a buyer. Have any of you made that mistake before, that you launched into talking about yourself rather than talking about them? Anyone? Those who put their hands up are very honest. Those who didn't are liars. So we begin by actually looking at the problem. Why are you here? What discomfort has led you to want to talk to me? That's really important to understand. Next, and of course, if the problem's urgent, you're doing even better. Next is the promise. Is the solution that you have one that's solved? I mean, look, you can read all of it. Proposition, is there a clear proposition? Proof, is there proof that this works? This is very important. Has anyone here heard of the concept of social proof? Social proof. Social proof is the idea that people believe things to be valuable the more that they see others doing them. So if you see an advert that says, 500,000 people trust X company to deliver its Y product, you go, oh, that's really good because other people are doing it, right? When you see people stick their company, the logos of their clients on their website, that's social proof. When you have testimonials, that's social proof. So you must, surely people know this and do this. Yeah? You would use testimonials and things like this. And then finally, is it powerful? This relates to the web. Is the advertisement useful in itself? I'll skip over that, but take a photo of it if you haven't. This is just really great for quickly running through anything that you are, any copy that you have, making sure it actually addresses these things. Right, now. So let's talk about then our offering, the thing that we are communicating. How do we make that engaging? Well, we've talked about this a little bit. Problem, dream, fix. So you want to talk about the problem. What's the problem? What's the thing that's drive you to be here? So if we take somebody that's coming to you, they've come to you because they're looking for a vessel. I mean, that is a problem. You need to understand that that's what they want, right? Oh, so you're here looking for a vessel, and they say, yes, I am. So now you're building some sense of rapport because you're getting them to actually repeat stuff back to you. You only begin going into the solution once you understand what their needs are. You don't launch into the solution before they've even told you what their needs are. If you go to a coffee shop, what do they wait for to receive from you before they make something? Your order. They want to know, what do you want? It's actually probably the easiest question that we often don't ask people. What are you looking for? What would you like? And that would save us so much time. And the benefit of asking a question like that is not only do you find out what they want rather than you telling them what you think they want, you also get them talking. Now, everyone here in sales know that the sales conversation should be the majority of you listening and the majority of them talking. Do people understand that in this room? Lots of nodding, okay. Does anyone know the reason why it's important for them to talk to you more than you talk to them? Top student. They are engaged, and the reason why is there are a few different psychological things happening. Well, one thing is they certainly don't feel like you are trying to sell to them. There's a saying, people don't like to be sold to, but they love to buy. Right? We love buying stuff, but we don't like it when someone sells to us, so it helps with that. It makes them realize that you genuinely care about what they want because you are listening to them rather than talking about yourself, which makes them realize that you're not egotistical and you're actually empathetic. What else does it do? Precisely. I mean, you get to listen and you get to tailor what you say in response. There's another thing that's going on here called commitment and consistency. Commitment and consistency is a phenomena of influence where when somebody says something, they then desire to be consistent to what they've said. So if they begin telling you all these things that you want, they will now desire to be consistent to want them when you make the offer to them. And finally, it means that they are investing their time into the sale. This is called sunk cost bias. I've invested this much time talking to you, and of course people love talking. The longer they talk to you, the more valuable they deem their relationship with you is. Zappos, the American shoe distributor, has a rule which is you're allowed to stay on the phone as long as you need to with the customer because they know it builds a deeper relationship with the customer rather than you trying to get them off. So let's talk about email. How many have shuddered when they've seen one of your colleagues send such a short, blunt response to a client or to a buyer? As in, so blunt and so short as if somehow the point of email is just to make things expedient and quick. Problem, when they do that, when you send these blunt, quick responses, you are acting as if you're delivering a service. But you're not. You're delivering an experience. You know, when you go to the hotel concierge, a good hotel, they greet you. Hello, madame. Hello, sir. How are you today? So on and so forth. The bad hotel, they hardly look up at you. And name, passport. There's no sense of experience to it. Now, this to me is just so achingly obvious, but it's really, really important, is that you are not trying here to make this quick. every communication you have with a customer is a chance to build your relationship. So I think I'll talk about it in a minute. Let's just go back to that in a second. Here's another thing that's really important when you're engaging people, is you offer options so that it's not if they should use you, it's how they should use you. Has anybody experimented with offering options for people to buy? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, a few people. I always do this with great success. If somebody comes to me and they're looking for me to do some consultancy with them, I offer them 3 options. You know which option they normally go for? The one in the middle. But if I just option them if I offer them one option, what's their response? Yes or no. If I offer them 3 options, what's their range of responses now? Oh, well, maybe this, maybe that. And they decide what they want. Simple, but very effective. Small, medium, large, right? We've talked about this. No people are buying a service. And here's a very important part of being a seller is giving people a button to push, calling people to action. Does anybody here struggle to close deals, to actually get someone to buy? Yep. Is it because you're afraid to say, would you like to buy? Do you find that difficult? I feel like it's just you and I today, isn't it? Do you want to pull up does anyone else feel uncomfortable making the request, would you like to buy now? No. Some people. Can I get a raise of hands if you are utterly confident and never fail to make the offer of them buying from you? Raise your hand. Okay, lower down. And so the rest of you are just silently, you're struggling a little bit. Raise your hand if it's just something you want to get better at and sometimes you're a bit nervous about, which should be the rest of you. The rest of you who didn't raise your hands, can I understand why not? Seriously, just quickly shout out a couple of things to help me. Is it that you're all shy? Tired. Okay, all right. So here is a false belief. We often believe that if we ask them to buy, that they might well be uncomfortable that we are making the offer. But the reality is that actually people are waiting for us to ask. I used to be a church pastor. I was a minister or a priest, whatever language you'd like to use. Yes. Yes. No. I didn't wear a dog collar. It was more informal than that. And the point of Christianity, the point of a religion, the point of running a church is you want to grow it, right? And particularly being part of what's called evangelical Christianity, we are evangelistic. We were wanting people to join. And so you hope that people will make a decision to become a Christian. That's kind of what you're there for. I'm not a minister anymore, just to clarify. And what I used to do was I used to kind of stand up and I was just hoping that at the end of the service, people would come forward to me and say, Scott, wow, you spoke and I now want to become a Christian. But you know what? People never did that. But what I did find was if at the end of my sermon, I said, if anybody would like to become a Christian today, raise your hand, people would do it. So they didn't do it when I didn't ask, but when I did ask, they did do it. Now, think about it. Becoming a Christian or making a decision like that is probably one of the most profound decisions that you make in your life, right? To become a member of a religion. It's something so powerful, and yet people were not prepared to do it unless I asked them to do it. Think about that. People would not do something that they really wanted to do that was a huge life decision because they weren't being asked to do it. People in general don't take the initiative. They are responders. They are responsive. And if we don't provide a button for them to push that says, yes, I'm interested, we are doing them a disservice. So you've got to think like the Chemical Brothers. World, the time has come to push the button. Thank you. My finger is on the button. Yeah. We can play the song later. So you just think with the Chemical Brothers in mind, give them a chance to push the button. For instance, here's my cheeky banner with all my slogans and things on, but at the bottom I have some websites and I've got my free engagement assessment. And you know what? These are buttons. It's saying, push me, do this thing. You can't just wait hoping that people will discover you without making a clear offer. Right, so let's carry on. All right, so this now would be really, really important. And talking a little bit more about this communication part, but also talking about the events, the experiences that you build. Now, chartering, let me just understand, how many people in your buying process do you have some kind of physical contact with them? Either trade shows or events, or they come to visit, or maybe, how many people have that as part of their buying chain? Raise your hand, please. A few people. Okay, how many people have, let's say, a phone call as part of your buying process? Raise your hand, please. And how many it is completely digital and there is no no kind of real-time interaction? Raise your hands, please. Once again, a massive amount of the audience not raising their hands for anything. I'm not upset, I just really do want to help, so I'm trying to understand what your needs are. See, I'm doing the thing I told you about, right? I'm asking you what you need. So let's speaking to those that have some kind of powerful interaction with your buyer. You cannot minimize the value of that interaction. This is the way that humans work. Yeah, anyone seen the film Inception? Inception is such a good film. Does it have a different name in Croatian? Yeah, okay. So in this film, you've got the guy that they're trying to get to, played by Cillian Murphy, who's the son of the billionaire, and and they're thinking about the business, and they want to get into his mind or into his heart to make him change his behavior. Right? You remember the plot of the film. I'm not giving anything away here. No spoiler alert. And what they do is they enter his mind through a dream. And they don't just go one dream deep, they go 3 dreams deep. So they go very, very deep into his subconscious. And you remember the scene where he does the same thing with his wife? And what does he do when he gets into her heart? He spins the totem, he spins the little top. And that was enough to make a subtle change. But he had to go very, very deep to do it. And if you remember in the film, the scene where Cillian Murphy comes to his father in the bed and he takes out the little thing that you blow, windmill thing. Yeah, thank you. It's a very dramatic experiential moment. The closest that many of us will get to a moment like that might be at a gig. You ever been to a music event and you are just like, there's a moment that hits you? Like you remember it? Or you know those times when you're having a conversation with someone and it just feels like something just goes deep and there's this connection going on there? Or maybe when you're at the theater or you see a film and something just goes deep there. The reason why this is so important is the doorway to the heart is the body. And in fact, it's a set of neurotransmitters, particularly dopamine, adrenaline, oxytocin. And those chemicals are triggered most when something physically arouses us. And the more it does that, our body, our evolutionary heritage, wakes up because something is happening now that could be life or death. And we carry that with us now. And we are now open. And what happens is the parts of your brain that are related to do with openness to new ideas, and also the parts of the brain to do with memory and remembering key things, are more active in those moments. It's why you can probably never remember something that happens while you're looking into a computer screen, because computer screens just fail to engage the body at that level. They can't. They're a tiny screen, small audio, no touch, no smell, no taste. So these moments that you get with people are your key opportunity to really go deep. So you scatter your message. You gather them in a key experiential moment. And when you do that, you must provide 2 things: sensation and some sense of social connection. So let's again take this conference. This conference has been powerful because we're here in person. It has physically engaged us. But something else that's also working here is that we are socially being connected. When you will go away back to your respective companies and Booking Manager Summit wants to run another year, it's got the benefit that all of you now feel part of this, right? There's some sense of connection that we've shared because of the volume of people. And that's happened because oxytocin, which is activated when we socialize, has brought that stuff in. It's why we run events. It's why events are so effective, is because they open up these various neurotransmitters that make something go deep. So now, if you are having a conversation with a client, with a buyer, excuse me, and it's either it's a phone call, or it's face-to-face, or it's them seeing something. You can even do it a bit over email, but that requires some art, is you are looking to make this moment experiential. It should be a foretaste of what the whole holiday would be like that they're booking, or the whole experience that they're now expecting to be able to offer their clients. It should be a foretaste of that experience. You should be able to show here a trailer for the experience with you. And you should speak in such a way that endeavors to move them. So rather than, hi, how are you? Yeah, everyone like that, you speak, hello, it's great to speak to you today. You put tone into your voice. If you're with them, you might take them somewhere experiential. Something even as simple as a hand on the shoulder just helps get these neurotransmitters flowing that make it more meaningful for you to enter into their heart and make that difference. And of course, when you get there, the point is you want to matter. You're doing something of value that matters to their lives. So scatter, gather, matter. So this is important because people buy from people, so be a person. People are humans, not machines, so respond in a humane way. There is this false idea that somehow business means that we have to lose our humanity and become mechanical. So when people go back to a service mentality in their communication with customers and try to do things quick and are trying to just respond, and they're being so bluntly unkind and unflexible, they are being machine-like, and they probably think that it would be wrong for them to actually be personable. But the thing is, we actually like things to be personable. In fact, the whole reason why we talk about humanizing brands is because we like things to be as human as they can be. There's a reason why we are making our digital assistants, we give them names and personalities, because we like things to be human. I mean, this really is a no-brainer. And in fact, there was this fantastic bit of research done called "The Man Who Lied to His Laptop." And they found that when people had a digital device, let's say a laptop, that wasn't working very well, and it was in front of them, the owner would find it hard to speak negatively about the device. But when the device was in another room, they would speak very negatively about the device, as if somehow it could hear them being unfaithful with another device. So it's this fascinating thing that we as humans try to make things more human. So the less human you appear, you are working against the flow of how we work. So every email is an opportunity to build the relationship, to be friendly, to be considerate. I mean, this is not rocket science. Just think like someone's your friend. How would you help your friend in this moment? So if, for instance, the answer is no, can we bring a dog on this trip? Dear so-and-so, I really appreciate that you're asking about pets. Unfortunately, the company policy for this is no. But if we could have a phone call, maybe we could discuss how we could get around this together. Now, they're unlikely to call back because that's the policy. But they now know that you care, that you've taken the time to write in a way that makes them feel listened to. You've shown that you are attentive to details, all for a few more seconds sat at the computer typing. But I guess all of you know all of this, right? You're very good at that. All right. We've talked about this, of course. People don't like to buy, but they like to buy, don't like to buy, but they love to be sold. No, I've got that the wrong way around. They don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. So I got that wrong. And know their buying experience. We've talked about that as well. So let's talk specifically, and we've talked a little bit about it, about building rapport. So we talked about this, be human, like a friend, or serving the Queen. That's the way I always try to act, is being English. A phone call is worth 50 emails. This is really true. Picking up the phone and speaking to a client on the phone gives you an opportunity to create one of those physical, sensorial experiences rather than an email. So just do that. Like, seriously, it's just better. And of course, when you do that, it makes you stand out. Find common ground by asking questions. And we've talked about how asking questions also gets them to speak to you more. Now, this is a really great one. This is really engaging. As a consultant or as a coach, a lot of what I do is listen to people describe their inner world, their frame of thinking. So then what I do is to make sure I've understood, I reflect back to them and I would say, oh, it sounds like what you're describing is X. And they go, yes. Now, reflecting this back is very simple to do, but it makes people feel like you're listening because you know what? You are. And you're showing that you've listened by reflecting back to them in your own words what they've said. And we as people generally are bad at listening. We interrupt people regularly. You can watch it. In fact, people that are meant to be world-class consultants that are my peers, often I'm aghast at how they will interrupt clients. They will finish a client's sentence for them, which is pure arrogance. And also, again, just derails the relationship that you're building. So, reflecting back shows that you're listening. It shows that you care. It shows, again, that you are attentive to details. Use their name. You can't overuse someone's name. So in an email, you might say, dear Mr. So-and-so, dear Mrs. So-and-so. But if you try to use their name again at the end of the email, that doubly shows again that you are attentive to their name. It's really powerful and really, really simple. And this is obvious. The number of emails that I get where people never inquire about my well-being. I always, whenever I email somebody, sometimes I don't, but almost always start off with, I hope you are well. And it's just this, I know I'm English, and so I'm like uber polite and all of this stuff. But it really does make a substantial difference to just show, again, concern for the well-being of someone. Now, again, you are offering an experience. So it should be that interacting with you is experiential. And it will set you apart. If you take the half a second it takes to type that in your emails, it will set you apart. You're consistent with that, people will be able to tell. And this. So this is why this is important, is if you, so we talked about, let's look at this. If you have shallow engagement, you will get this much of a sale out of them, right? You get your one sale. It's basically a one-night stand, right? You get a one-night stand sale. And I know that many of you, you're facing the challenge of other people are offering things cheaper. And of course, all of these things are techniques that set you apart because people have the confidence of knowing they're buying a premium experience. And bear in mind, nobody likes to buy the second-rate experience. We're happy sometimes with second-rate services or products. When it comes to an experience, you will pay the most you can afford to get the experience you've always dreamed of, right? People don't skimp on their wedding day. Okay, and for many families, booking that yacht is going to be a substantial key family moment. They don't want to skimp on it. They want to do it well. They don't want to spend money on shit. But they do want to have an awesome time, right? So, shallow gets you one sale. If you're good at building rapport with them, so you use questions to find out what they want. You listen, you get a phone call, you engage with them. You might be able to boost that sale, but you're still only getting sale one, okay? If you are able to build a relationship that goes beyond the trip, how was your trip? Or if you're selling to agencies, how was that? Whoever your client is, you maintain a relationship. You are now able to get the second sale. Every time I have a client, I am never thinking about one sale. I'm thinking at least one round of repeat business. But the gold is when I get the first sale, I get the second sale, and they refer me onto someone else, and I get the third sale. Every sale works for me 3 times. There's a reason why. There's a fantastic bit of research by Gallup. Engaged companies that optimize for engagement with their staff, outperform the average company by a factor of 1.7. So they are 1.7 times better. Companies that engage for engaging customers do similar. They outperform others by a factor of 1.7. So engaging companies are doing almost up to twice as good, because they're trying to engage their customers or their staff. If you do both, it leaps up. These companies do 3.5 times better. And the world leaders do 6.4 times better, which is where you have companies like Apple that are ridiculously profitable, offering some of the same products that their competitors offer at a less of an engaged way. So we are coming into land. Let's just recap quickly what we talked about. So we've talked about how when somebody comes to you, you scatter your message to them. There are 6 psychological levels of engagement. We won't go into that now, but you scatter, that's kind of this part. You gather in this meaningful moment, and that's when somebody transfers from having a reason-based approach to you to a relational approach with you. You see, you can't have a meaningful conversation with somebody and then afterwards they hang up and them not have a relationship with you that they're looking forward to hearing from you again. And when you do that, you're no longer competing upon their cost-benefit ratio that they're doing in their mind. We call this calculative commitment versus effective commitment. Effective commitment is when you buy, not because of whether you think it's valuable or not on a cost-benefit ratio, but because you want to, because your heart's there. And that's where we want to get to, right? Then finally, you matter, you provide value, and you keep the relationship going. You know, I'm going to stay in touch with you. I'm going to keep on. And you don't just, Daniel was talking about it yesterday. You don't just send newsletters that say, we got 45% off, and you do that every now and then, right? You stay in touch, you build a relationship, you use the phone, you build deep relationships that are deeply valuable. Questions? Hello.
So what tools do you recommend to really build that deep relationship? Because I know it's hard to do with a client. You build a deep relationship with a friend, but with a client, you have to really engage. It's hard. You just do every day like this, where you have to reply to 10, 15 customers a day. It's really difficult. A lot of effort.
Okay. So there is no tool. There is your language. The relationship between a customer is the same as the relationship with a friend. It's built in the same way. It's not built in a different way. And it's a matter of caring and putting your caring into your language. I mean, if I could reduce engagement down to like one thing, to engage is to care. It's to try. And so we talked about it. You ask. The most powerful thing is you ask questions. You get them talking to you, you mirror back to them, you try to have a phone call or a meeting with them in person because that's always more powerful and more efficient. It will save you loads of back and forth, and you stay in touch over time. Like if we're boiling it down, you do that. What you don't do is try to just think that this is about a service. It's not as an experience. Yes?
Yeah, I believe I can relate. I was also thinking about that. It's basically about the limit of time that you have. And in order to form those very meaningful relationships, it really takes lots of time. Write emails, which are caring and everything. It takes time. So there is like this collapse of interest where you're like either you need to reply fast and get the information to the client, and then it's a little bit shorter than you would like to, or get the connection. So now it's a very good balance, basically. And you have to be really intuitive here, but then again, you have the pressure of doing that many things in that small amount of time.
I don't think necessarily it does take more time. To say, dear so-and-so, I hope you're well. Really thrilled about this opportunity. Pick up the phone and call them. I mean, I'm not asking you here to adopt a new tool and to start using Salesforce and create this complicated funnel with automation. I'm not asking you to do all of that. I'm asking you to just slow down a little bit and make your communication an experience with people. I actually think that that's quite liberating. And the thing is, we run to the tools, right? I just preach it a little bit, right? We run to tools. Employee engagement's this big issue all around the world, and everybody runs to a software tool. You know why? Because they don't actually have proper leadership in the company. Can I get an amen?
How do we make sure we're not annoying them?
Well, you scatter and you gather. So the rule is that you scatter out opportunities, they gather around them. And you always go one step further than them, but you don't go 5 steps further. Okay? So it's like, most things can be reduced down to flirting. If you're flirting, you mirror where they're at, and you might go a little bit further, but you don't jump to the deep end. Kind of obvious, I think. Hi. Sorry, say that again.
How you get engaged when you're going through the agency? So agency actually talking to the clients and you have nothing to do with the clients. Well, in the end, when they come to the person, yes.
It's the agency sale, yeah. Well, yeah. So engaging with the agency would be, well, I don't know your industry, so what I'm saying could be completely wrong, but I would certainly take the approach of I would be engaging with the agency. I'd be getting to know the agency. I'd be getting to know people by name. I'd be taking the time to have phone calls with them. I would show them that I care about them. I'd inquire as to how their sales are going beyond your products and services and experiences. You know what? Money actually is shown to demotivate people, not motivate people. No, money, it's not everyone, right? But money in general actually reduces internal motivation. A lot of people, they're not looking for money, they're looking for you to give a damn, right? To get to know them, to inquire about how things are going. So every Christmas, right, I send all my clients lovely little gifts and a thank you note, and it's just simple. But they really appreciate it. I take my clients out for dinner. I mean, none of this is like rocket science. There's no tool for it. I know I'm not going to blame you for saying that, but I kind of look your way. So it's getting to know the agency, bring the agency out so you can use this process, scatter, gather, matter, right? Develop good conversation skills with them, gather the agency to a meaningful experience. How can you set yourself apart as the company that actually really cares about the agency? I mean, maybe this is all nonsense, but generally, people kind of like care. And there's a lie that says that people are less emotional about B2B purchases, which is BS. People are actually 57% more emotional about B2B processes. That's Gartner. B2B processes mean more to us because we are using them on a regular basis. Whereas consumer products, we use far less, right? Somebody spends 9 to 5 working with that supplier. That's going to be emotional. Was that your hand, sir? No. Any other questions? Yeah.
This is a little bit deeper into the psychology, basically. So about the verbing of "I hope you're well." I was actually asked a question that thing to myself for quite a while now. So is it better to ask an open question of "How are you?" or "How do you feel today?" or "How is your day?" than basically stating "I hope you're well," where there is no reply needed. Plus, there is this moment of "I hope," where you're putting yourself prior, and if you're starting the email with the "me," like "I hope," then again there's a psychological moment where you're not putting.
Okay, so to the first of all, to the last part, people read in phrases, not words. So if they see "I hope you're well," that's known to be a greeting, and so they would read all of that, and they would see your concern for them. They wouldn't go, "Oh, you're starting the word with I," right? We read chunks of text. As opposed to making it open-ended, that actually can appear to be desperate over time if you keep on doing that. I think it's pertinent to do it when you know there is something very specific to ask about, but in general, just saying, "I hope you're well," or "Greetings from Zagreb today," something simple. There's no pressure for them to respond. And you mix it up, right? So sometimes I put, "I hope you're well." Sometimes I go, "I hope things are going well for you." I just mix it up a bit, but it just shows politeness that you would have when you meet somebody, you meet a friend, you just say, "How are you?" And they'll just say, "Okay," and that's it. You don't need to go deeper. But then when you do go deeper, it then has meaning to it, in my opinion. Kevin. Yeah, so doesn't just because it annoys you because it's from someone that is trying to sell and they're doing it off the back of illegitimacy, they don't know you. Whereas you know this person because you've had some connection with them, right? So what I do is if I'm emailing someone out of the blue, they don't know me, they don't expect to hear from me, I will say, "Hello, apologies for the out of the blue email. And I recognize that I wouldn't say I hope you're well in an email to someone that I've never met before, because that would be dishonest. I mean, yeah. We have this thing in English where when you meet somebody for the first time, it's correct form to not say pleased to meet you because you don't yet know if you're pleased to meet them. So you say, how do you do? So I say, how do you do? It also sounds superbly English, which I love. And then the great compliment is, of course, when you say goodbye, is if you then say, I was pleased to meet you. Was that a question, sir?
Yeah, but I think all this stuff what you're saying, it's very cultural dependent. So this means, in English or US or Canada, where it's English word, you could use these phrases, but in Balkan or...
Yeah, of course you need to adjust it. I'm not saying... I think that is... It perhaps it's so obvious we shouldn't say it, but actually it's the obvious things you have to say. Adapt this to your culture. Don't say, how do you do, because you're not an English toff like me. Say the thing that's relevant to you and be authentically you, right? So I don't put kisses at the end of anything. Because that... Sorry? Yeah, I'm just not that type of person. I'm just not an XX person. I just leave that, that's not me. But I do smiley faces, and I'm okay with that. I don't use emoji, I just manually type them. Old school, Any other questions? If this has been unhelpful and you've been disappointed in this session, I am very sorry. I will be here, able to speak personally with anybody. I do have on my website a free assessment that you can do that will explain how you score on scatter, gather, matter, and then it will analyze your engagement strength and give you a unique, personalized thing. So that's pretty handy, engagementassessment.me. I will be, yeah, oh yes.
Sorry, one question.
Yes.
Maybe I missed it.
Yes.
The stickers. You said you will explain.
Oh yeah, so the stickers are, they do a couple of things. First of all, the language on the stickers is what I call schema hacking. It's like puns. So people are very unlikely to remember anything that I say. Right? That's reality. They're more likely to remember something that they already know that I put a fresh twist on. So I give people, so if somebody's quite serious, I give them a sticker that says, why so serious? And then I say to them, you don't have to be so serious in business. People buy from people. So it becomes a little bit of an educational moment for me. And then it's also my business card. It's got my website on, right? Also, so it first of all helps them learn something in a way that they will remember it because it's based on schema. Schema means your existing worldview knowledge base, right? So if I can take a twist off of what you already know, you're more likely to remember it. The second thing the sticker does is it shows everybody else that they've been stuck by me. And the more and more people that have them, the cooler it makes me look. And so that's the social proof thing. The more people who have my stickers, the more that everyone here thinks I'm a badass. Also, they are novel and unique. They're not normal. No one ever does them. So when I do something that's novel, that makes me stand out. And of course, I want to stand out. I would like clients. I would like to speak at your events, right? That's my business. And I'm not afraid to say that's what I want to do, and here's the button, and you're welcome to push it by going on my website and checking it all out.
But you engage with stickers.
I engage with everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've engaged with some crazy stuff. That's just, I just go for it, yeah. Because life's to be lived. Are we happy? Because I really want to make sure that you are able to leave here with, yes, Kevin. Mate. And considering when I first met you, you were quite sour. Well, you weren't rude to me. Well, I have done at last. I've stuck at it. One final thing is this T-shirt is my personal motto, and I think it's really true. It is all about people. If you take that view in life, you will engage people. And the joy of engagement is everybody has wonderful value in them. And if you're willing to just go a little bit deeper than the shallow of hi, goodbye, and scratch below the surface, you'll find out everybody is wonderful. And I think that's basically what I'm trying to get across today. Selling is a service that you provide. It is a wonderful thing to do. You are helping people with amazing experiences. Let that be your mindset rather than I'm trying to stack it high and sell it cheap. Don't join the race to the bottom of the brainstem to make things cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, because you'll just keep on going down. Elevate yourself by offering an experience and making working with you an experience. And that's critical, because if you don't make working with you an experience, they won't believe what you say. It'll just be seen as hype. Thank you and good night.